Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs?
14th overtime game. Stutzler with a takeaway. Fights the open man. Score!
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
You know, people forget about the last bit of that quote. It's always the playoffs thing. It's the, I just hope we can win a game. But welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Big Apple Hockey. And we wish it could be a happier episode for all of us as the New York Rangers fading playoff hopes are happening, as well as the Islanders moving on, life without Brock Nelson. I, of course, am your host, Marc Williams, who is doing his last show from right in this location. We'll get to that another time. But I'm joined by the host of the Final Buzzer, Mr. John Falkowski.
Got nothing, man.
Yeah, but fortunately, somebody that's always got something, The Rock, our L-Rock from the Hockey News, Mr. Anthony LaRocco.
Actually, I almost wrote same thing as Phil. I got nothing, but whenever I can't think of anything, I just go with your name, Marc Williams, because, I mean, why not? But,
yeah, well, that's a good one to go with. I didn't even realize that I just left it from the trade deadline. I accidentally put that in there. I got to see if I can change that later. But it hasn't been a good week, especially if you're a New York Ranger fan, and that's where we're going to go to the A block as the Rangers, if they wanted to make a statement this week, they made the absolute wrong one. As a reminder, Big Apple Hockey trucker hats and shirts are available, and the A block is powered by Seat Geek. Use the promo code Big Apple Hockey for $20 off your first order. But the Rangers 0-2-2 to just crushing OT losses to Washington and Ottawa. More on that one in a minute, but that's actually where the description is. And the Islanders were 1-2 this week. Saturday, Rangers blow a 2-goal third period lead in the final 10 minutes to Ottawa, losing overtime. Sunday, they surrendered the last 4 goals to Columbus. After 2 goals on the same penalty kill. They had 2 shorthanded goals. How often does that happen? And then last night, they looked kind of lifeless against the best team in hockey. Here are the standings. We'll go more into this in a minute, and I'll show some other tidbits that are on there. Phil, I'm going to start with you. Can the New York Rangers rebound and make the playoffs?
Technically, yes, but does anyone actually see them doing that at this point? I mean, this comment right here is really kind of it. Maybe they should all have Big Apple Hockey trucker hats and change their professions, because all of them are just terrible. Terrible. I mean, Carson Soucy has not been good. He's kind of been what the analytics have really kind of shown for this year. Braden Schneider's regression needs to be studied. Zach Jones can't play defense to save his life. Yeah, sure, he can skate and move the puck, but he can't play defense to save his life. Keandre Miller is like riding a gravitron at a carnival, like you just or a festival or something like that, where you're just going around and around and around and around until you eventually throw up from being so dizzy. Will Borgen, I mean, is Will Borgen the best defensive defenseman this team has? If that's the case, that's piss poor. This is terrible. The Rangers, if they could find a way to like blackmail themselves into the top 3 of this draft, they should draft Matthew Schaefer. And that's really probably the best thing the Rangers could do, is find a way to blackmail somebody into giving them second overall pick or the first overall pick and take Schaefer, because this defense is just awful. The structure is garbage. Laviolette needs to change things up, but you can't really do that now because it's too late. It's too late in the season. So, yeah, good thing Jury gave Will Borgen an extension and for $4.1 million after how many games playing in New York. So stupid. It just so many things to go wrong to blame this team for, their struggles and things that have gone wrong. But it's just, how did you do nothing to improve your defense at deadline? Like, you brought in Carson Soucy and that was your answer. You didn't go after anybody worth a damn. You didn't try trading for anybody that could have helped. I mean, I know Seth Jones was never going to be an option, but maybe they should have looked into him instead of doing what they did, because Seth Jones would have helped this team out a hell of a lot more than the garbage they've brought in.
Anthony, I'll let you have a crack at this before I take one.
Well, I've been telling Marc, he doesn't do it, but I've been telling Marc after a really bad Rangers loss, he needs to go live and just pull a Steve Dangle and just yell and scream like a lunatic and send our channel to the moon, because Steve Dangle, his most viewed videos are when he flips out after a Leafs loss. But Marc won't do it, so maybe you viewers can tell Marc that's what you want to hear from him after a bad loss. But no, honestly, the Rangers they're a team. Yeah, they're still in it at 2 points, but Phil laid out eloquently. It's likely not going to happen. They have so many issues, and when they collected those 6 points by beating Nashville and the Islanders, the 2 games, to kind of get back in it. I see people excited. I'm like, what? Can you not see what's going on? They just played a decimated, terrible Predators team and an Islanders team that they just own this year. And when they play good teams, they just go back to being the Rangers and they lose games. So, and when you look at their upcoming schedule, I mean, you got the Wild, you got the Blue Jackets again, the Flames, the Leafs. The Rangers are, they're not giving me any inkling of watching them play that they're going to, rattle off 3 or 4 in a row and really get into the playoffs. So, well, it's still certainly possible. I think the writing is on the wall for both teams, frankly, but the Rangers, the thing that concerns me, I'm not even going to touch on the defense, because Phil's 100% right. He basically said everything I could say, but where are your best players? I mean, I'll give credit. Zibanejad's been a lot better than what he was in the beginning of the year, but that's also not saying much.
Bar is low.
Yeah, exactly. The bar is low. But where's Lafreniere? I mean, where's Panarin? I mean, these 2 guys are supposed to be some of your most talented players, and they're nowhere to be found. Especially Lafreniere, because at least Panarin, I saw someone on X say he's quietly having the worst point per game season there is, because he is putting up points, but he's a ghost otherwise in other areas of the ice. But Lafreniere, not only does he not play defense, but he's not doing anything offensively. And, that's hurting the Rangers immensely. And as Dimitri's saying, Trocheck too. I'm starting to see him get called out as well. But Panarin, Lafreniere, I mean, what are you doing? You're be elite.
We have to talk about this too.
We're not doing it
here.
So,
I mean, I don't mean to derail you in some way there, but this is just absolutely pertinent to what you're saying. He looks checked out. He looked checked out there. Did you see it, Anthony?
I did not see it. No.
I missed the actual interview. What happened?
They're asking him to elaborate on things that they can do to get better, and he's just giving the shortest, most nondescript answers that you can give, and Trocheck just looks absolutely checked out. It's terrible. And this is a guy that a lot of people thought was captain material, and even he's just lost it. Yeah, I don't know how Olivier has 2 more goals than Lafreniere at this point, which is just pathetic. That's a face puncher that has goals somehow.
Well, first off, let's just talk about how disastrous this weekend was. You're playing against the Ottawa Senators, a team that you were ahead of at the moment, competing for a playoff spot. You had them on the ropes. You had a 3-1 lead in the 3rd period. They couldn't get out of the 3rd period. And then Keandre Miller, where's that pass? Where is that? You know what? If he should change his number from 79 to 81, and not because he would be Terrell Owens, is because he would be T.O. for turnover. He's just a walking turnover. So that's enough for him. Yeah, the bad pun is there still. I don't care.
Honestly, you like. I thought you were going to have something better than that, and then I don't know what you were doing there. You used a wide receiver for turnover?
No, well, you know what? I had to go with the initials for a second on that. I mean, Phil, this is also a perfect example right here. The Rangers extended Jonathan Quick today. He has almost a higher goals against than I do, and I don't play net. Like, just stop. I question every single decision now. I don't know what is going through their minds. So first off, you had the Ottawa game. Then you completely no-show against Columbus, even though that was a back-and-forth game for the first 30 minutes. And then just, yeah, great. 1-1, and then 2-1 last night they lost. Mika had a goal on the power play. Hey, they scored a power play goal. Remember when we actually talked about the Rangers as having a dominant power play? Now it's, hey, they scored a power play goal. I mean, and now you look at the upcoming schedule. There ain't many wins on there. There are not many wins. Minnesota's competing. Columbus just waxed them. Edmonton is arguably just as bad as the Rangers. Then you got Calgary, who's fighting for a playoff spot. Toronto, who's fighting for the division over there. Vancouver, who's fighting for a playoff spot. LA, which is a much better team, who smacked them around when they came to the Garden. And Anaheim is playing better than them. Maybe the Rangers get a win versus San Jose.
I am old enough to remember the Fire say their chants.
Yeah.
That's how old I am.
Marc, hey, I think I was there to have a Fire Campbell or Fire. That was Fire Coley. I think it was Fire Coley. But it's just this team. There aren't many bright spots, and that's where the problem is right now. And I know they had to rework their entire team, but this is like you can't do it on the fly. And then you get other things like realizing the Rangers got another year of Carson Soucy. It's just
no, they can move him in the offseason. That's a contract that can be moved.
Kaylee's saying right here, it's the same fundamental issues. It's been with this organization for years. Same defensive issues as well. I mean, it's just.
I mean, she's right. She's 110% right about that.
Right, and this they need new blood. They absolutely need new blood. I know Ranger Central has been advocating to get Rich Peverly in here. Jury's got to go.
So, all right. So I've said that there needs to be a purge from top to bottom this offseason. Include the coach, the rest of the cancers that on this team that need to go. I would say you need an entirely new coaching staff and an entirely new developmental staff as well. Like how you have Tanner Glass and Jed Ortmeyer, who were two NHL scrub level players. Jed Ortmeyer was bad for the time. Jed Ortmeyer was bad for a time that they were coming back from a lockout where you still had dinosaurs like Mike Rathje and Dan McGillis and Chris Terrian and Darian Hatcher were hanging on by a thread. Yeah, let's bring in Tanner Glass and Jed Ortmeyer to help develop the guys in our system. And then let's bring in Marc Stahl, fresh off of retirement, with zero experience in the job field. Let's bring him in to help develop players. You want to know why this team is so bad at developing players and they have the same fucking fundamental issues year after year after year? It's because of scrubs like that being in positions that they shouldn't be in. Stop. Get rid of these guys. Tanner Glass should have never been put in that position. Neither should have Jed Ortmeyer. The people bitched and complained about Mark Chiacchio being the skills coach. They replaced him with a better skills coach in Christian Imura. But get rid of these other guys. They don't know what they're doing. The results are bad and have been bad for 20 years now, if not more. So get guys that can actually do it. Take notes from Tampa Bay. Take notes from Colorado. Take notes from Dallas. What are these guys doing? It's a copycat league, right?
Yeah.
Take notes. See what they're doing. See who they're hiring. Bring in newer blood, because whatever you have right now is not working and is a flaming bag of dog shit left on my front stoop that needs to be removed.
And I mean, Phil, they need a new philosophy from top to bottom. And I just want to know who's calling the shots because I have a feeling Jim Dolan has called a lot of shots on this.
Why do you believe Jim Dolan has called the shots?
Because I think he looked at last year and said they were 2 wins away from a Stanley Cup final. And that's the reason why it's like, wait, yeah.
You might actually have a point.
Yeah.
It's just listen, I get why you question it, Anthony, but at the same time, we know somebody personally who's worked under Jim Dolan, and I know somebody else who's worked with that man, who's worked under Jim Dolan directly. Jim Dolan is very impatient, and when he starts putting his hands on things, everything gets fucked up, and that's what's happened here.
You know, Mark, you mentioned at the very beginning, you mentioned the Keandre Miller pass, and that the thing for me that sticks out there is, you know, he was barely being pressured. What kind of pass is that he made? How do you make such a bad pass when you're not really even under duress like that? It's just that was bad.
That's why I don't want to pay him.
That was and that was an egregious turnover. That's
why you shouldn't pay him.
Game winner.
You cannot pay a guy $6 to $7 million a year over 6 or 7 years when his head is all like he's literally. I feel, again, I'll make the Gravitron reference. I literally feel like every time I watch him play, he's somewhere all over the zone chasing somebody high. And then you had Carson Soucy, who did the same dumb shit on Winnipeg's first goal last night.
Yeah.
There's a 3-on-3 entering the zone.
Mm-hmm.
And what does Soucy do? He leaves the low area, goes up high to chase a guy who passes the puck off. I don't know what the hell he was thinking. Leaves the middle wide open. Like I can't. I don't understand how they continue to bring these guys in. It's like Drury is like addicted to slow depth defensemen who play a stay-at-home type game who can't handle a puck.
And going with more of the copycat things that we're talking about. The Rangers did change up some things, like they changed up the way they play defense. We're going to be talking more about this in our Bar Talk segment in a minute.
Vomit Gordon is being nice, Nicole.
Yeah, and the other thing is this team has definitely run its course. It's putting JT Miller on it now. Kind of, it's the same point that we were asking about. If they're going to go into a retool, why would you need JT Miller on it? I mean, maybe that might be the case. And look, he's played great overall, but there's also times where he's disappeared as well.
But Miller is a guy. Well, first off, you just acquired him, but second of all, you keep him, but you you absolutely do everything you could possibly do to get Mika Zibanejad to waive his no movement clause. You try to get Artemi Panarin to waive his no movement clause. I think, and Chris Kreider needs to be traded too. I think
Chris Kreider's gone. Chris Kreider's absolutely gone. The writing's on the wall there. And that last interview with Kreider, when he talked about, I enjoyed my time here.
Yeah.
Like those exact words, he's gone and he knows it.
Yeah, and it's gonna happen. That's the case. The question is, Anthony, how far down to the studs they could take it.
It depends on how many of those guys you get to.
You can't rip out the foundation anymore because you signed a goaltender to an $11.5 million contract for 8 years. Great job. Good job, shit for brains.
Which is exactly, and that's why I think that one came from Dolan. This one, and this is where I keep making this point with everybody. Well, his numbers are gonna be fine once they get better defensemen on there. Great. How are you going to do that when you're paying literally $6 million more than this year to him? And don't give me the cap is going up, because they could have saved that by getting an entry-level goaltender or somebody even cheaper than Jonathan Quick, who, again, his numbers are just getting worse. This team is not going anywhere next year.
In a heartbeat before this offseason starts, if it was my choice, I would trade him away.
Igor?
I would trade him away.
Well,
quicker than you think.
This goes back to Evans with his comment about Drury. If he had any, he would make a move like that because his no movement clause doesn't kick in until July 1st. So if he had any sort of, you know what, he would do that. But I don't think he would.
Right. And look, there's a lot of things that tied his hands going all the way back to Jeff Gorton. And he played nice with Jacob Trouba on this one. And like I said, guys, we're going to go into some defensive structures, and maybe that's the reason for the Rangers' failed success. We'll get into that in a little bit. But Anthony, hey, it wouldn't be a week or even a game or a day without a controversial goaltender interference in the NHL. Let's go right back to this one where Anders Lee last night, there it is. You could see him make contact with
let's go full screen here.
Yeah, I'll go to the full screen. Hold on.
I did it. Okay.
All right. You can see him make contact a little bit.
Like it's his leg. Literally,
it's the leg and the stick.
Yeah.
It's the leg and the stick. Simple enough.
I don't know. I mean, I could see why people might be thinking, hey, that's goalie interference.
Do you remember the one from last year with Jersey and Toronto?
Yeah.
They barely made any such sort of contact, and Jersey got screwed, and Toronto, they had a goal overturned against them. It's literally how they're going to call it. I honestly, I don't think this is any bit confusing at all. I don't. It's how they're calling it. What happens there is the player takes the stick because of his skate, and it messes with the goaltender's ability to play with the puck. Now, how much that impacts him, that's up for interpretation, but it does. And that's why it's goaltender interference. They've been calling it this way. If this is the conversation that we're having, I don't think we're paying enough attention to how they're calling these. So what I would suggest is going back, taking a look at a bunch of them, and you'll see. It's the same way they're calling it. Even the Ranger one last night. A lot of people didn't think that was goaltender interference, and it was. Skates collided. He couldn't get over. Stick was held by the player. Basically, it's goaltender interference. That's the way they're calling it. If you don't like the way that they call it, that's fine. To each their own. But that's the way they are calling it.
Anthony, what are your thoughts on this?
I don't think Kemper's ability to make that save had anything to do with Lee's skate where his stick was. Like, it wasn't a case where like Lee was screening the goalie, someone else shot the puck and he bumped into him. Like, Lee barely had his foot in the crease. And as David was saying, Kemper stuck his stick out to try to poke it away from Lee. So naturally his stick's going to get caught up in between, hit some part of Lee. Like, Lee didn't intentionally do any of that. That's the part where that to me was weak. I understand that's how they call it, but that was as weak gets.
How they're calling it. It is how they're calling it.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's how they're calling it, but I still don't think like
they're protecting the goaltenders. They're giving the goaltenders the same here, and I get it. The big one for me last night was Winnipeg's friggin' power play goal. Like that should have never happened because Matt Rempe gets shoved into Connor Hellebuck by Morgan Barron. Play is right there. Refs aren't even looking. What are they doing?
Yeah.
Like
the referee,
you literally see Morgan Barron cross-checking Matt Rempe into Connor Hellebuck. And Rempe's trying to put his feet up to resist it, and he can't because Morgan Barron's under him.
The reffing this year has not been all that good, but I'll tell you what, I have had no love for the refs or even a lot of the executives this year. Speaking about having no love for someone, God, find somebody that hates you like Patrick Waugh hates Pierre Engvall.
This is pretty funny. From
Pierre Engvall recently, and what do you expect from him with Cizikas and Sipilkov tonight?
I just hope that's going to bring the spark he needs.
I mean, can you tell me you hate somebody more without telling me that you hate somebody more? That is like the longest pause of just frustration I've ever heard. What do you think on that one, Ant?
I mean, yeah, the huge sigh when he just mentioned his name. I mean, it is. Listen, it's a player that's. I can understand why he's madly frustrating because He's got size. He skates well. He's fast, but he literally doesn't hit anybody, and he doesn't compete. So it's like he has these tools, but
I didn't know we were talking about Chris Kreider.
he doesn't use them. So I get why Waz frustrated about that, but it's just and thanks to Lou, he has that contract, but from what I'm being told, he's probably going to be bought out in the summer, and I think
I think you said Mayfield too, right?
Yeah, I hear there's a chance that he buys out both Mayfield and Envols. We'll see how it goes.
I do think that applies for a lot of guys, but going back, we'll encapsulate both coaches in this one. Guys, if they cannot make the playoffs, should either one of these teams bring their coach back?
No. I'll Laviolette, obvious reasons. There's a whole bunch of other stuff going on there. That's a beaten dead horse already. I'm not going to go ahead and just absolutely slaughter the corpse any further. For Patrick Waugh, I think the writing is really kind of on the wall with him. Like, he's not a good NHL level coach. He hasn't really shown anything at the NHL level for me. I think the Islanders need a new voice. I think they need a new system. I get it. He hasn't really been here that long, but it was kind of I like the Waugh hiring just because, you were getting away from Lane Lambert, but the Islanders need somebody that has a better and proven track record. And I think either that or both of these teams honestly should be looking at David Carl and trying to get David Carl out of Denver. I mean, that's one of the top guys that I would think of. The question is whether or not would David Carl want to leave Denver? Like, is the money going to be enough to sway him to leave? And that's really the thing. So David Carl would be like right near the top of my list. Sullivan, I know it's a retread, but Sullivan's a proven winner. He's a very good coach. That's somebody that I think both teams should look at as well. There's familiarity with him in the Rangers organization and he's an assistant under Tortorella. And then, I mean, I would love to see if I just had a name at the top of my head. I was thinking that he's employed right now. Oh, Peverly and Carl. Yeah, I could do that. But yeah, Sullivan and Carl would be like the two guys right at the top of the list that I would take a look at.
Anthony, what do you think? Waugh deserves another season?
I wouldn't shed a tear if he got fired, but I don't think Lou's going to fire him, and I think it's because I think Lou took kind of in his press conference when he spoke. I think he almost took onus on himself with how this went, and because of that, I don't think he's gonna fire Waugh. He said we need to get younger. He acknowledged that, and there's going to be change in the off season. So I don't think he's putting this on Waugh. I think if anything, he's put it on himself. And then another too is the Islanders had so many injuries to so many key players. I don't know if he's going to pin that on Waugh either, because that's a valid point in defense of Waugh. Waugh had a very depleted lineup. I mean, his best player, Matt Barzal, has been limited to just 30 games. I mean, think about that, Mark. 30 games for his best player. And, his defenseman was walking, the whole left side of his defense was out for an extended period of time. So when you combine all that with Lou didn't really do much in the offseason to give him, I don't think Lou's going to fire him. I would be, like I said, I wouldn't be upset about it. I just don't see it happening. For the Rangers, I think Laviolette should go, but is Drury going to be allowed to, like, for instance, if they keep Chris Drury, he's just going to be allowed to fire another coach and hire yet another coach, and he keeps his job too. And that's the key part about it. If I don't know, like if Drury gets fired and they bring in a new general manager, it's quite possibly. I know a lot of times GMs want to bring in their own coach, but sometimes GMs, in this case, they may look at Laviolette and think that he's not the issue either. So I don't know. I think that there's a chance that both coaches are back. The Rangers, I think Laviolette, as Evan and Phil said, I think everybody needs to go, but I'm not so sure what's going to end up happening there.
I think Laviolette's got a shelf life. This one comes a year early. There's different reasons for it coming a year early. So I'm not even going to really just cry about that. I'll say I'm very happy with the job that he did last year. I am very disappointed in the job that he did this year.
Like, do we know for sure that it's not Laviolette that they're quitting on and it's Drury? I mean,
if it's the GM they're quitting on, it says more about the players than anything else.
That's I think Drury needs to go. I think Laviolette, like, he's tried to do everything that he can with everything that's been going on. I think there just needs to be a new voice. I think there needs to be a new voice, a new team, and I don't know if I trust him with the younger guys. I don't. I mean, he got the most out of Lafreniere last year, but I mean, he couldn't help Kakko at all.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I think Kakko a big part of it is him to blame too. But I mean, I want somebody that I know that is going to come in and is going to give a focus on youth. Like, we need to get away from this idea that this team is close to a Stanley Cup, because they're not.
And look, again, I can't pinpoint yet the guy that I would point to and go, this is who the Rangers should go get. I've always been a Laviolette fan, and the comparison that we have all along for basically this entire season, shades of 92-93 for the New York Rangers, and they went from President's Trophy to last place. They got Mike Keenan and then went back to the President's Trophy and won the Stanley Cup. It's possible that a guy like Laviolette could do that. I was starting to buy in that maybe he could coach his way out of this, but I'm going to get into what my problem with the team
Slavin ain't going anywhere, man.
In a little bit.
Slavin is not going anywhere.
Yeah, no, they're never going to
Good
get
luck
him
on that one. He's on a team-friendly contract, and even when that contract expires, they'll probably give him another team-friendly contract where he'll be making somewhere between $7 and $8 million a year.
Oh, he did. Slavin signed an extension already.
He did?
Yeah, I thought he signed an extension.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Well, let's stay there.
That was fairly recent, too.
Yeah. Let's stay there in Carolina, by the way, guys, because the news coming out this week for Carolina, Rod Brind'Amour basically throwing Mikko Rantanen in.
3.95. Oh, great. That's even worse than I thought. Oh, my God, man.
But the news this week about Rod Brind'Amour saying there's one guy that has left here and did not like it here. That was Mikko. He did not like it. When he showed up, he said, there's 4 teams I'll play for, and you're not one of them. Rantanen heard this, clarified his statement, and said, some things were said. I had a list of teams already when I went there, but that's false. Went there with an open mind, tried my best. Anthony, who do you got in the Rantanen Carolina beef that even the governor of North Carolina weighed in?
I don't think it's necessarily beef. I just think both sides are just trying to paint themselves in a better light. Look, at the end of the day, the Hurricanes traded for a player that they had no inkling that was going to re-sign. And I don't blame them. They were bold. I can appreciate when the team's going to be bold. They did it, and they got burnt because they didn't do their due diligence. And, they thought that maybe they could have convinced Rantanen. And I heard his agent, Andy Scott, was talking with, I forget the two. Was it Jeff Marek?
It was Jeff Marek and Johnny Lazarus.
Yeah, and he was saying how, like, look, he's like, Mikko, he first off, he was caught off guard by the trade to Colorado, but he got there, he got settled in, he tried to have an open mind, but at the end of the day, he made the decision that it wasn't for him. So the Hurricanes, like I said, good. They were bold. Unfortunately, they got a player that they weren't able to convince to stay. So. And listen, he was a pending UFA, right? He had the right to determine who he wanted to play for. And, he said, sorry, but no thank you to Carolina. And Carolina did in the end, they did just fine. Logan Stankoven, 2 first-round picks. I mean, come on. So they got a haul in return. Everybody's better off. Rantanen's happy. It's just they made a move that didn't pay off.
Yeah, I think both parties are really to kind of blame here. I give a little bit more of Carolina because I think they went ahead and made this deal without knowing whether or not he would actually play there.
Yeah.
That's really what I think it came down to. They wanted to go get a guy that they thought they would put them over the top. And I don't think they really even knew whether or not he would mesh with them because he didn't. Carolina, like I'm aware from Life of Seeing, and I've watched videos on this as well, is that Carolina plays more of a dump and chase type of game. What they like to do is they like to dump and chase, and then they like to go high and low. And they're a very high shot volume system. Like it's not about high quality, it's the amount of shots. And that's why they're these analytics darlings every year because analytics are all shot based. And what does Carolina do? They pepper the opposition with shots. And a majority of them are from the outside. They're stoppable shots, but the analytics look better because of this. And Carolina, what they think they can do is they think they can wear teams out. When you play like this for 82 games, then you have to carry it over for another 20-plus potential games, you eventually burn out. And you run into better teams that can beat you because they can transition out of the zone easy, kind of like how the Rangers have done it, how Florida did it to them. I mean, I'm telling you right now, no, Fabrizio, he's got an extension. Rantanen has
he signed an extension Friday.
He's not going anywhere. So, but that's the problem. Rantanen wants to play off the rush. He's one of the better off the rush players in the entire league, and nobody would think it, but that's the way that Rantanen plays. Rantanen can play off the rush. He can slow the play down off the rush and either beat you with a top-notch pass or his absolutely insane shot. So that's why Rantanen does not fit with them. I mean, can he play that down low grinding type of game and cycle the puck and everything like that? Yeah, and he is pretty hard to knock off the puck. But if you've watched like him play in Carolina, like he would try to do that, and it doesn't work. He's not used to playing that type of game. They don't play that in Colorado. They're quick. They're a quick strike offense that relies on off the rush play. So when you've got two players that are absolutely two of the top, I would say 4 fastest and best skaters in the NHL, and you're playing off the rush, and that's what you're used to because you've been playing that way for the last 7 or 8 years, yeah, then when you go to a team like Carolina where they want to completely reinvent the wheel for you, you're going to struggle with it. So that's why he struggled. And you know what? He probably knew it right away. He's like, this doesn't work for me. I don't want to be here. And you know what? Good on him. He understood it. Anyone that would like go into that situation, a lot of people would just take the money and they'd say, oh, well, Carolina is going to offer me $14 million a year. I'll stick this out. This won't be so bad. Nope. Mikko Rantanen wanted to go somewhere else where he knew that he would have a better chance of, 1, being happy, and 2, fitting in. And that's what he did. So I really don't blame Rantanen much here. Tulsky just did a piss-poor job of evaluating the situation before making the trade. But Tulsky did a real good job of recovering and getting assets for a guy that a lot of people thought that he wouldn't get assets for.
Players can see things that happen around the league. And I'm reminded of 2012 when after that lockout, every single player was getting a no-move clause because they saw what the Rangers did to Wade Redden. They shoved him down in the minors and said, you want your millions of dollars, you're going to have to play in the AHL for it.
PA wasn't having that.
So what would be the most miserable guy, or we're perceiving that he's miserable because his production has been so far down and he got traded and he got paid? Jonathan Huberdeau. Like, he has just been completely in a system that doesn't really reflect him. And his production has been back up a little bit more, but Rantanen doesn't want to be him. Rantanen wants to go somewhere. He wants to succeed. He wants to win. Players do want to win. Like, let's never forget that. And they're not just going to say, give me the money and then just put their feet up, even though that's what it looks like Alexei Lafreniere's done. But it's something that he wanted to go somewhere that fit him a little bit better. and good for him. And I agree with Anthony on this. You end up with Logan Stankoven and 2 first-round picks. In the long run, this benefits your organization. In the short run, they may not be Stanley Cup contenders. We'll see about that one, even though Carolina's won every game as of late since then. And because we're going to talk about them a little bit more in the bar talk. All right, so that was the A block. We know we ran a little bit long on that, guys, but, there was a lot to talk about, especially when it came to the coaches. Well, Kaylee, we're going to be going back to that in a little bit. First, let's get a message from DraftKings. Hockey fans light the lamp this winter with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. New customers can bet just $5 pregame money line on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. If that wasn't enough excitement, you can turn small bets into bigger payouts with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more for your shot at an even bigger payout. Download the DraftKings Sports app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at the DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN.
Shot. This is the easiest I've ever to answer.
I'm going to say beer. I can't even begin to describe.
I'm actually going to go crazy. I'm going to buy everybody around on this one. And welcome back, everybody, to Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk, where we gauge our confidence based on, our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice to drink. You're so confident that you're buying around, so have a beer. Or, oh, God, I need a shot. And I need a shot after blowing that intro, something bad. Play along down in the comments below, guys, because let's get started with this. This season, the Rangers have kind of used multiple different structures. I know they were playing a hybrid style, a zone, and a man-to-man, and it's just been a disaster the entire time. Philk, Peter Laviolette's refusal to change from man-to-man to zone defense earlier in this season is the biggest culprit for the Rangers' struggles.
I'm going to say beer. It's one of them, probably in the top 3. I don't understand why they're playing man-to-man with the defense they have. The defense they have isn't good enough. Phil Housley definitely needs to go. I'm on board with that. You see why he didn't last as a coach in Buffalo. The other big culprit is Chris Drury himself and sending out that memo and really kind of just messing up that entire locker room. But this is definitely right near the top. And it's funny because they get rid of Trouba and you think, oh, they're going to improve defensively, right? No, because Trouba is so bad. But no, the structure is just terrible. The lack thereof, I should say, of structure is just absolutely terrible. Was like Laviolette coaching from a Hockey for Dummies book or something? Because where is this defense? And it's like you could say so much about the fact that they have just below average NHL defensemen on this roster, which they do. It's terrible. It really is. But I will say right now that the structure has done nothing, or the lack of structure has done nothing to help out this defense corps. It's been awful, absolutely awful in so many manners. Anthony, to you.
Yeah, it's a beer. I agree with everything you said. Their structure and how they played needed to be changed, and it didn't. It just wasn't working for the personnel they had. But I think the biggest reason was just how the players just seemingly quit for 6 weeks because of everything that was going on. I think that really had more effect on the style of play that they had. So I just think it kind of unraveled there, and it really put them in a big hole. And as you're seeing now, that it's taking them a lot to even get back to where they are right now. So the structure and Laviolette's system certainly played a role in it, but I think it was the players themselves that essentially just gave up for a while there, with inexcusable play.
This locker room was it's just the worst. I can't describe this locker room, and I can't. The funny thing is, from last season, I thought they were mentally strong and able to go through and do all this and win a Stanley Cup. Now I can't help but go, how did they even survive the first month? It's like that line from Bull Durham. What's our record? 8-16. How did you ever win 8? But the entire month of December, they quit. And again, you want to talk about that's why with that, I'm gonna go shot on this. It's the locker room is the biggest culprit for the Rangers' struggles. It's just no. And the part of the problem is how much did Jacob Trouba tank this Rangers season? Because basically
it all started in the summer.
Yeah, his attitude was, they're trading me, so I'm just gonna flex my no trade clause and then be checked out. And it was clear that he was checked out. I mean, maybe he could come on and say maybe he wasn't, but you know what? He looked like he was checked out. So that's the biggest culprit for the Islanders' problems. The Rangers' problems. Oh, sorry. Well, we're going to the Islanders right now because after all, Anthony, we heard Lou say we need to get younger and faster
and prettier.
And definitely they need to get prettier too. Sorry guys, my audience is heckling me. One way to do that, Anthony, is get a guest that was on our show back there in the summer. Guys, go look him up. Alex Jeffries in Bridgeport, 31 points in 57 games over the last 2 seasons. You think the Islanders should call up Mr. Jeffries?
Yeah, so they're 5 points out right now. Still doable, but not likely. I mean, they would have to go on what they did last year, right? That 8-0-2 run at the end to get in. Don't foresee that happening again. So, yeah, I mean, if they lose a couple more games and that deficit gets larger, I don't see the harm in calling up Jeffries and seeing what he could do at the NHL level because he's played well in the AHL, and also too, I want to get him away from the Bridgeport Islanders. They're just a disaster down there with developing players, and they're such a bad team. I want to get him up with the Islanders organization, and then see what he could do in a better environment. Because he's got a good shot, he's got good offensive instincts, and why not give him a look to see what they would have in him going forward. So I mean, it can't hurt, right? I mean, there's really no negative to it, so I'm gonna go round.
Phil?
24 points in 45 games on a really, really bad Bridgeport Islanders team. I don't see why not. I mean, you're not going to call up Chris Terry, who's their leading scorer, or Brian Pinho, who's seems like a 29-year-old journeyman minor leaguer. I say, what do you have to lose, really? Just give this kid a shot. Yeah, I would really give him a shot, especially over guys like Marc Gatcombe, who I really don't see anything there in terms of an NHL player, and Pierre Engvall, who the coach doesn't even like. So why have those two up over Jeffries? See what Jeffries can give you. Give this kid a shot. There's just no point in not doing so at this point.
I'm glad my wife loves me as much as Patrick Waugh hates Pierre Engvall. But I gotta say, I'm going with beer on this, not because I don't want them to call out Jeffries. I think they might need to wait 8 more games or 6 more games, so that way is there that rule that less than 10 for the Bridgeport contract for the age?
No, that's just junior. That's just junior players.
That's just juniors. Okay,
yeah.
So it would still accrue. All right, then yeah, bring them up now. Let me change the 2 around. I figured there was a way that they could still save a little bit on that eligibility, but we had him on last year. Great guy, and he's working hard to try to make the team. He had a couple good runs at college. Let's see what the kid could do up here. Why not? All right. Look at the Metro Division, guys. Right now, you have Washington with 94 points, Carolina 82, and Jersey with 76. By the way, you guys watched that Jersey-Columbus game last night?
I saw like highlights from it.
Yeah. Youch. That came that was just all over the place. So, but you're not really like loving Jersey right now. So Carolina versus Washington is inevitable, Mr. Filkowski.
I'm gonna buy around. Whoever makes it, I think in that last spot, I don't think is beating Washington. I think Carolina would beat New Jersey, especially without Jack Hughes. I think even with Jack Hughes, I think they would trounce New Jersey. I just don't I'm not really even high on Carolina. I think the Mikko Rantanen loss and losing Natchez and not really they got Stankoven back, but Stankoven's not that player yet. Like, will he be there one day where he's a legitimate top 6 forward? I believe so. I do. But I just don't think that he's there yet. I think this Carolina team is probably the weakest we've seen in the last few years, last 5-6 years, I would say, from them. I mean, they still never addressed their center depth. Jack Roslovic started off the year shooting at like 25%, down quite a bit. Some Ranger fans are still like, "Oh, we should have kept Jack Roslovic." That way you could shoot 8% with us, and be a complete non-factor. Yeah, great. You guys would be shitting all over him. And then, in terms of New Jersey, like I said, I don't really like that team right now. Too many injuries. I don't see Markstrom as being able to steal them a series. So yeah, I think this is inevitable.
I forgot if I put up the round. Let's do that right there. Yeah. Anthony?
Yeah, this is a round. Carolina is gonna beat Jersey, I would think, pretty handily in the first round. I would say actually 5 games. New Jersey right now without Hughes, without Dougie Hamilton, I just think they're too weak. I mean, Jesper Bratt is up there in the top 10 in scoring. He's having a phenomenal year, but I think the Hurricanes are still significantly better than the Devils. And as for the Capitals would rinse Columbus in the first round. I know they're saying that Blue Jackets upset Washington, but I don't know about that.
I don't think so.
Elvis Merzlikin's save percentage is .896 right now, and he's their starter. You're telling me that's good enough? No, Washington is a good offensive team. They're going to pepper him. He has very little playoff experience. I think
Columbus isn't doing anything to a better defensive team.
Washington, I think, will pick them apart in round 1. So yeah, I'm going to go round for this overall. I think this is a second round matchup destined to happen.
Do you know what goaltender leads the NHL in games allowing 4 goals or more?
Is it Igor?
That would be Elvis Merzlikins. He's tied with Alexander Georgiev. Shockingly, right behind that is Ilya Sorokin, and then Sam Montembeault tied with Igor with 15. So I wouldn't be betting on Elvis Merzlikins in Columbus. I know they're going to be plucky, but that ain't the same Columbus team that had Artemi Panarin and Matt Duchene on it back in 2018.
And your boy here, Luc Dubois.
Yeah. Well, John Radigan's got a good one right here. But you know what? Thank you, Phil.
Ryan Leonard, I'm going to be honest with you, John. Ryan Leonard just won the scoring trophy. He's probably the most ready of all of them. I don't know if he's necessarily NHL ready, but if they want someone that could come in maybe as a bottom 6 forward and maybe give them some bite, maybe you could see it. I just, if I were them, I wouldn't rush it. I wouldn't. There's no need. There's really no need for it.
But the way the Capitals have played, the way their structure is, and I understand the Capitals have looked like this before and have fallen flat in the playoffs. Even against Carolina, they did this back in the 2019 season. They just look like a wagon. I think the Capitals could basically punch their ticket to the conference finals right now, but that's just me. Guys, did you see Monday night, the Detroit-Ottawa ending? Well, that ended with the game-tying goal failing to cross the line but as time expired. So the Red Wings lost 6 in a row. They're 4 points behind Columbus. This one's simple, guys. Detroit's done. I forgot. Oh, Anthony, we'll start with you.
You changed it on me.
I did a little bit.
No, they're not, because even though they've lost a bunch in a row, similar to the Rangers, like they're there, right? The deficit's not huge. It's just they're not playing in any sort of way that makes you think they have a realistic chance. So technically, no, they're not done. They're 4 points out. But at the same time, you know, they've like you said, they've lost 6 in a row. Their momentum's going the wrong way. If you ask me this question after tonight, if they lose to Buffalo, I might say round, but I'm gonna say beer, just because if they beat a bad Sabres team, they're 2 points out. So again, similar to Rangers, yeah, 2 points isn't a lot, but the big picture, you want to say no. But just realistically, they are still in it. But my original topic was Steve Yzerman didn't do enough at the trade deadline. And that one, I would give you a resounding round, because his team was skidding. They haven't made the playoffs since what, 2016, 2015? You would think, and how they missed in horrible fashion last year by 1 point, you would have thought he would have been proactive to add to get his team over the hump. And what did he do? He trades for Peter Mrazek. Like, I don't know. Like, Steve Yzerman gets this aura about him, like he's this great general manager. And this saying is the Yzer plan done well. And yeah, he's acquired some good assets, but how is this team still not a playoff team after that many years? He needed to do more. He absolutely needed to do more, and he didn't. They have picks, they have prospects. Like, I'm not saying to, trade like, some of your best prospects for a rental, but like do something. Like, you acquired enough assets, you can make a move to help your team, and he didn't do it. So, yeah, overall, very disappointed in Detroit. But yeah, they still have some life to them. So I'm going to say beer.
Actually, Anthony, I didn't get that one. It didn't show up on the notes for some reason. So it was that I missed it. Phil, give both thoughts on that. Steve Yzerman not doing enough, and is Detroit done?
Steve Yzerman hasn't really done that good of a job in Detroit, if you ask me. I mean, he kept going and overpaying for guys like Andrew Kopp and JT Compher and Ben Sherratt and all these other guys that they brought in over the last few years to try to get them into the playoffs. Oh, well, you know what? That went specifically against what he did in Tampa Bay. And he gets that aura that you speak of, Anthony, because of putting together the nucleus of Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And putting together basically those championship winning teams, basically leaving them for Julian Brisebois to take credit and get the Stanley Cups. But he's forsaken goaltending. I mean, Sebastian Casa hasn't really done anything for him so far.
Mm-hmm.
That's a piece that they were expecting to come up and help out big time and be a big cornerstone future piece for them. Simon Edvinsson is looking better by the game. He's got 24 points this year. He's looking like he could be something legitimate. And Moritz Seider just hasn't rekindled that magic from his rookie year. So, yeah, I mean, they need other guys to really kind of take a step forward, obviously outside of Lucas Raymond, who's now a point-per-game player.
Fabulous.
But, I mean, Patrick Kane, 40 points in 54 games, not enough. I mean, they need more. I get it, he's 36, but you brought him in to be one of your top players. He just hasn't been good enough. Like, the analytics have been right about him. He's fallen off quite a bit. But this team is over-reliant on their power play. The defense isn't good. They have problems scoring at even strength. It's just not good enough. So, no, Yzerman hasn't done enough. And Detroit, even though they're not technically eliminated, I can't see how they make the playoffs and how they leapfrog everybody. They'd have to go on another 7-game heater. They've done it twice since they hired Tom McLellan, but they haven't been good. So Tarasenko is Celtic Shaq. Yeah, basically.
Well, I play this all the time, guys. But to be fair, he should have made the playoffs last year. But once again, John Tortorella didn't know what was going on. However, yeah, these guys are done. They didn't.
If you have to be in that position, then you shouldn't make the playoffs.
Yeah. Then, so that's the only way to say it for that. But no, they're done. There's no way they can do this. I'd be shocked if they do this. They'd have to go on a huge heater. They get Vegas twice in the next 2 weeks. The Capitals once. You better win against Buffalo tonight. That's the best way to say it.
Yeah, if they lose to Buffalo tonight, I'll be like, yeah, 4 points, but they're done. If you lose to Buffalo,
Anthony, Buffalo is the most dangerous team in the NHL right now, and I can't believe those words are coming out of my mouth. Because if there's any team that's basically mathematically eliminated, they just suddenly come alive, it's the Buffalo Sabres. So,
and I just want to add, I don't want because I love Dylan Larkin at the Four Nations. I think he's one hell of a player. But for someone who's supposed to be the team's best player, I don't know if you guys would agree, but isn't 56 points in 64 games not enough for a player of his stature? Who's supposed to be the leader of your team? 56.
Yeah, I would agree. I not enough out of him. He's a two-way player, but I mean, I would like to see that above 60 or at least closer to 64. He hasn't ever been a point per game player in his career, but if he's like a 70-point player, which he has 2 seasons of 70 points, I mean, I'm okay with that if he's giving you like top-level defensive play, which he can give you. I'm not saying he's a Selke guy, but he's well above average defensively.
Yeah, I got to agree with you on that. And it's a Sabre cycle season until they suck till March and heat up when they think they're going to take the next step the following season. Don't rinse, repeat. Yes, that's exactly right. And although I do have to mention, I forgot if I mentioned this, there was a context of why I said Anthony's version of PLD is Alexei Lafreniere. Because I think we were just talking about PLD before some reason. Oh, because no, I know why, Anthony. Because you were talking about Lucas Raymond.
Yes.
And there's another guy that was drafted behind Alexei Lafreniere. But let's stick with Dylan Larkin's teammate from the Four Nations, because we've been saying this all throughout the season, guys. Connor Hellebuck, who leads all goalies in wins, shutouts, save percentage, goals against. Phil, I know that there's a goalie that won the Triple Crown, but does anybody won these 4 in the last at least 20 or 30 years? I'm going to get back to you on the answer in a minute.
I would say it's got to be Hasek. I'd imagine 97, 98 Hasek led in all of those.
Yeah, I mean, that's a Herculean task because then you have to get the wins too. Right now, Hellebuck with 38. You look over in that division, Nate McKinnon leading the NHL with 102 points, just got to 1,000 points, the 100th player to do so. He won last year's Hart Trophy.
No, Hasek didn't lead the wins. But
And Edmonton's Leon Draisaitl has got 46 goals. There's your competition for the Hart. Phil, Connor Hellebuck should be the Hart Trophy favorite over McKinnon and Draisaitl.
Yeah, I'm going to buy a round on this, actually. Nathan McKinnon's having a down year, and I think that people might go back to Nathan McKinnon because of the Mikko Rantanen trade and the fact that he's probably still going to score, I would say, 125 points. But he's having a down year. Leon Draisaitl might have a shot at 60 goals. I don't think he will. I mean, McKinnon right now has 102 in 66 games, and it's 127 points basically he's on pace for, which is a big downgrade from last year where he had over 140 and he won the Hart. I think the league also doesn't like to do like back-to-back award winners, apparently, unless it's like an overwhelming performance. I think Hellebuck does. I think he deserves it. I look at Hellebuck's defense in front of him, people say, oh, well, Connor Hellebuck has such a great defense in front of him. Do you really know any names on that blue line outside of Josh Morrissey? Because I don't think people are really all that familiar with the guys that are in front of him.
Neil Pionk.
Dylan DeMello, Dylan Sandberg, Neil Pionk is great defensively. Hayden Fleury, Luke Shen. They're not great because of that defense. They're great They're great because of the guy that's behind that defense. That's why he's having an incredible year. That defense on paper is dog shit. It's just that they don't play stupid defense and do things like what Carson Soucy and Keandre Miller and guys do, where they leave the slot area to go chase a guy up high, and it leaves an outnumbered situation down low. That's the only thing. It's the structure, and it's Hellebuck there. Yeah, Anthony Zabola list is probably going to be a good one.
We'd probably have a good Ebola list for everybody on that.
I mean, there's not many. I mean, Ryan Holloway, Dale Purinton, those two guys probably lead the way. Other than that, I really don't hate too many players, to be honest with you. You'd be if you're surprised to know that.
Well, I think it's also stemming from just the fact that Loftus drafted number 1 overall, and it's like, hey, it's good. Yeah. So, Anthony, Connor Hellebuck, should he be the Hart Trophy favorite?
No. Kay Whitmore.
Legendary Vancouver backup to Kirk McLean.
Yeah, I think it was a Hartford Whaler.
Yeah, Hartford Whaler. Yep. Bob Essens is another good Winnipeg Jet goaltender.
Tim Chevelday.
I'm going to. You know what? You'll be surprised. I know Sean Avery, Rangers, Islanders. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't like Sean Avery, but I didn't hate Sean Avery. Didn't do it. I actually kind of admired his play. But I'm gonna say round. I do think that Hellebuck leads. Makes the Winnipeg Jets go, but you also can't discount that they have a lot of good players. Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, Nikolai Ehlers is having a career year and a contract year. I mean, what about Gabriel Velarde, right? In the PLD trade, he's got 60 plus points. He's having a hell of a year too. I mean, they got a lot of.
Oh, another one the Rangers could have drafted in 2017 instead of Elias Anderson.
They got weapons. But no, I don't want to take anything away from Nathan McKinnon, because if you saw how they were at the beginning of the year with all the injuries they had, they were like a skeleton crew, and he really led the way until Yakushin came back from suspension, and some of their guys like Duran and Colton came back from injury, and so there was a lot. And he's 20 points clear of the second point getter, or
5 points.
5. Oh.
Yeah, I was about to say there's not that much of a gap.
How many points does McDavid have? 80-something? 82?
McDavid's 82.
So he's 20 points ahead of McDavid. My bad. But no, he's a phenomenal player. I mean, you could certainly give him the trophy, and I wouldn't be like, oh, that's a bad choice. But I think this year you got to give it to Connor Hellebuck.
I've been waiting for giving it to a goalie again for a while, so I'm going to go around on this one as well. It is a hat trick for us. Let's bring that one back up. Guys, I mean, because I know when people start, like you were just doing it just now, Anthony, a little bit of, hey, Winnipeg's got good players. What about Scheifele? What about Connor? What about Velarde? Okay, Nate McKinnon's got Cale Makar with him. Cale Makar's got 75 points. He's 9th in the league in scoring. I always hate it whenever you have like the MVP conversation. It's like in the case of Draisaitl, he's 2nd in the league in scoring. His teammate is 4th. Like you got two guys that are helping boost each other up, even though Draisaitl is just putting every single shot in the net. When it comes to goaltenders, I understand they have to do everything, but when they have the wins, save percentage, goals against, and shutouts that they're leading in, it's not even just the counting stats he's leading in. He's leading in the analytics. Yeah. Go look at Money Puck. Yeah. Goal save above expected. Goal, everything. Game point shares. Hold on, wait, Phil. I thought Igor leads that.
What?
I thought Igor leads every single.
Oh, my bad. I forgot. Igor somehow leads all those categories. every argument I get from every Pay Igor fan is, oh, well, he's the best analytically. He's the best in this thing. Okay, no, he's not, because if you go look at Money Puck, Hellebuck leads all the analytics too. So,
well, at least he's getting $8.5 million next year.
Hellebuck has the best defense in front of him. Yeah, okay. Give me a break.
And you could argue he didn't even have the
you don't watch
in.
Winnipeg without telling me you don't watch Winnipeg.
Right, exactly. Winnipeg is a hell of a team this year.
Stalwarts, Dylan Sandberg.
The only problem is for Winnipeg is they're going to have Murderers Row to go up against when the playoffs hit. So, you got to get to the playoffs to do anything. Yeah, exactly.
And if you can't get to the playoffs, what the fuck does that matter?
So, but speaking about the playoffs and speaking about positioning, because Winnipeg has got right now first place in the Central, and it looks like they got that locked up. They're competing with Washington, first place overall for the President's Trophy. You know what team doesn't have their place locked up? The Edmonton Oilers. You look at their last 10, they're 3-7. They're 1 point ahead of LA. LA's got a game in hand. Boys, Edmonton Oilers will finish third in the Pacific, and I'm going to actually buy around and start this one off, guys, because I think LA is kind of licking their chops. They're motivated to get past them. They want home ice because, after all, LA plays pretty well on home ice. So that they're a better, they're 21-3-4 on home ice, 13-17-5 on the road. They would rather get Edmonton at home, and they can't lose to Edmonton again, right, guys? It would be mind-boggling if they would lose yet again, but we'll see about that. Anthony, what do you think?
This is a beer. I mean, it's truly a toss-up. I mean, it's 1 point. I mean, it literally can go either way. LA, much better defensive team. The Oilers, to me, obviously are more explosive with Draisaitl, McDavid. But I'm gonna say, I'm sticking with beer because it really can go either way. Something tells me that the Oilers are going to hold on to second, but again, the margin is so slim there. It really toss up.
Phil?
I can't really say this for sure either. It's a 1 point difference. LA has a game in hand on them, and they're 1 point back, but it's just, good job on it not being a layup, but it's like if there was a layup for a beer, like this would be a layup for a beer, because it's just, there's no way you could realistically go like, oh, well, Edmonton, I guess you could look at strength of schedule. And then, you're saying to yourself at that point, well, what is Edmonton dealing with? And if you look at their schedule, like up and down, I wouldn't say it's a murderer's row. They have the Devils tomorrow, and then they have the Islanders and Rangers. So they do the 3-game Metro trip right there.
Mm-hmm. Then
they go home for Utah, Winnipeg, and Seattle. Okay, Winnipeg's a tough game there, but the other two are very winnable. Then you have Dallas. Then you have Seattle again. That's, again, winnable. Seattle's not good. Calgary is – you never know which way that's going to go, even when one team is good and one team is bad, because it's the Battle of Alberta. Vegas is tough. San Jose is easy. LA is going to be a tough game. Anaheim should be an easy game. St. Louis is nah. San Jose is another – their schedule's pretty favorable. So I don't want to. I can't. It's got to be beer for me.
Yeah, and after all, this every time
beer.
Every time Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl lace up the skates, you got a chance to win. Although, as I showed just now, 3-7 in their last 10. They're not defending well either. They're having trouble there. Part of the other problem is Stuart Skinner suits up too. There are shooters that save more than he does. All right, guys, one last one. Florida's Aaron Ekblad suspended 20 games for a performance-enhancing substance, which I know that's supposed to carry into the playoff, guys. My question then is does he get suspended 2 games or is he suspended for 1? Because usually they wait those.
No, he's gonna miss. He's gonna miss the first 2 playoff games.
He is gonna miss the first 2 playoff games. Okay, because I know sometimes they'll do that. Phil, we'll start with you. Aaron Ekblad will be the same after the suspension.
Man. What do you mean the same? It's not like he broke his leg. He's suspended.
Yeah, I know.
So what the question is asking is whether or not there's going to be a drop off. Remember the last player to get suspended for PEDs?
Hold on. I should know this. Wasn't it
pretty prominent player too, and his play's dropped off since.
Who?
Nate Schmidt.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah, Nate Schmidt's play dropped off after it. You know what? Aaron Ekblad has always been physically bigger than the competition around him. Like even when he got an exceptional status back in junior, I was going to say, is Aaron Ekblad going to hit 73 home runs?
Actually, it would have to be 74 home runs to break the record.
74 to break the record. But I look at this. He's getting older. He's been hurt a lot throughout his career. I mean, do we know if this guy has been taking these all along? I mean, I would imagine not, just because they only just recently caught him. But who knows? Like this could be just him doing it for a while and then him finally getting caught for all we know. I just with the Nate Schmidt drop off, I would be very, very concerned to see how things are going with him. Could this be an Andy Pettitte where it's, he took it one time to recover from an injury and it's a one-off, or he took a substance that, had maybe something like HGH in it and they didn't know? Sure. But I'm just going to say beer because I have no way of really knowing it. But I think it is a discussion that could and should be had.
I just want to say for the record, I don't buy anybody that says that they don't know what's in it. Anyone.
Okay, I understand that.
And I also don't buy I was taking something so I can get back to my team faster. That's the definition of performance-enhancing drug. And then you're healing faster. The only thing I'll buy is the hyperbaric chamber. That's fine. Go ahead, do that. Since I'm already ranting, I'm going to go shot. I think he's already starting to drop off in a lot of his production. There's been a decline. The question is going to be how much. I'm still a little bit uncertain, but I'm kind of leaning towards shot on that one. So that's why I went there. And what do you think?
I'm going to say beer. I think, anytime you're missing an extended period of time, 20 games, and then you jump back in and it's playoff time where, everything's ramped up. It's hard to catch up. So I think that might be a little difficult for him. But, he is allowed to obviously still practice during the suspension and all that stuff. So that should help his legs. But I do think that he will be a little behind when he comes back in for game 3. So I'll say beer.
All right. Well, guys, that's the end of Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk, where we gauge our confidence on the NHL topics based on your choice of drink. So let me go before we even get to any more Q&A. I like this one from Dimitri first. Will ESPN capture every goal leading up to and surpassing Wayne Gretzky, just how they did for Barry Bonds' home runs? I think they should. I think they should, no matter, even if it's on everything. This is something that nobody thought would ever happen, and not only is it within reach, but 900 is within reach, and so's to infinity and beyond after that. Phil, what do you think?
I just saw there is Anthony. Did you post this?
What?
The Ovechkin interview? Was it you that sent that into our chat?
Ovechkin
The
interview.
Russian reporter, where it said that he wanted to retire and go back to Moscow Dynamo after 25, 26.
I saw that. I don't think I sent it in the group chat. Oh, maybe
Okay.
I did.
Well,
I don't know.
So Alex Ovechkin, Ilya Shevchenko was the reporter's name. Who's a Russian reporter, I guess, who writes for the KHL, covers KHL. And he said, basically Ovechkin said that he wanted to retire after the 25-26 season and go play his final days with Moscow Dynamo. So I do think that I think that 900 is definitely not out of the question. I don't think he does it this year. I do believe that he'll end up scoring 900. I don't think he's going to retire with 1,000. That would be ridiculous. He'd have to play another few years to do it.
Yeah, no. I mean, I did read a while back that once Ovechkin got within 5 goals, the plan was Gary Bettman and Wayne Gretzky were going to follow the Capitals for all their games, like be at them. But I don't know. I don't know what ESPN plans on doing on doing live look-ins after he scores a goal and that. I'm not sure what they're planning.
I mean, I just don't like how this is not being advertised enough right now. I think there's not enough attention. I don't think there's enough marketing for this. I mean, I don't think anyone realizes how big of a deal this is, because the NHL is doing nothing to hype this up right now.
Phil, I think part of this has to go with what's going on the world stage, and that Ovechkin's Russian.
I don't think that really has anything to do with it.
I think part of it does. I mean, that's just me.
I really don't think that has anything to do with it. I think the NHL is just bad at this, and they've been bad at it for a while.
That is true, though. That is very, very true. Unfortunately, the NHL marketing, they really need to figure out. They got to expand their thinking a little bit more. All right. So, guys, I got Puck Doku ready. And this time we're going to set a 5-minute timer. Actually, let's do a 3-minute timer. And
really putting the pressure on.
Yeah, well, that way we can't sit there and research it for a while.
Mariota, man.
I'm going to just announce what's up top first. You have, actually, Anthony, I'm going to move you to the top. I know it's a little bit smaller for you guys. But for everybody that's listening, you have the Bruins, the Avalanche, and the Senators up top, Calgary, New Jersey, and a player with 250 penalty minutes in their career. So ready, and we're going to wait for Phil to get back real quick.
I'm going to overrule your timer, by the way. If I'm feeling it, I'm going to tell you can take your timer, turn it sideways, and say what The Rock used to say, do a thing.
Yeah, we gotta make it a little bit faster, Anthony. That's what we have to do with this. So actually, you know what? Let's start up. I think me and you could get it within 5 minutes. And the goal is to get a 0. So
all right, well, so right off the top, I think Boston and New Jersey, you could do Mike Motto.
Mike Motto is a good one. Let's go with that one. 0.4%.
Yep. Let's see what's sticking out to me. Ottawa, Calgary. You could do Steve Conroy. That's going to be a low one. No, Conroy with the K.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. 250 career penalty minutes. Would Rob DeMaio be in Boston?
He definitely played for Boston, and I would imagine he definitely has. Yeah, so I would say Rob DeMaio.
He's got to be low.
0.0. Yeah.
Woo.
Avalanche penalty minutes. You could do Claude Lapointe there. He always works. I would think he has 250 penalty minutes. Yeah.
Shout out to Claude Lapointe, who was lived around the block from me. Was the tenant with my friends at Ink Pens. All right. So
Ottawa, 250 penalty minutes.
Obviously Chris Neal, but that's going to be
what about Andy Sutton?
Andy Sutton, I'll do a quick verification on that.
He's the big defenseman, tough guy. You don't have to check that.
Okay. Andy Sutton, 0.2.
Yeah.
Okay. A Devil and a Senator. And not Anton Volchenkov.
Dean McCammon.
Wow. Okay. That's. I would almost say you might want to hold on to him for. I think he's an Avalanche. But
You what?
Dean McCammon. He's a 2.
2%. Avalanche Devils.
Avalanche Devils. We got Avalanche Devils, Avalanche. Calgary, Boston, and
Calgary, Boston. Marty McGinnis played. Did he play for Boston and Calgary?
I actually believe he did. Just getting that one. Of course, I went to the wrong place.
I'm pretty sure he played for Boston and Calgary, as well as Anaheim, the Islanders.
And you are correct. Calgary and Boston. Marty McGinnis. Who was Marty McGinnis traded for? Was that Reichel?
I don't know. I'm not sure which trade he was in.
Marty McGinnis. And I'm just going to double check that.
Avalanche, Nordiques, and Flames, and then Avalanche, Nordiques, and Devils. Just make sure everyone watching realizes in Puckdoku, for when it shows the Avalanche, it can also be a player that played for the Nordiques. Doesn't have to be just the Avalanche.
That is correct. By the way, yes, he was in the Robert Reichel trade.
Yeah. Oh, New Jersey, Colorado, another Claude Loisel.
That's a good one. All right, so we just have Calgary and Colorado. Why am I thinking Michel Goulet? That's not right. Steven
Reinprecht, but that would be
Steve Reinprecht would be a good one.
But yeah, but the percentage, I think he's gonna probably be like 5-6%, I would think.
39 seconds, by the way, to get one.
Yeah. Did Adam Deadmarsh ever play for Calgary? No, right?
No, he was just LA and
Gino Ojic. Did he play for Colorado?
I don't think Gino Ojic played for Colorado. He did not.
All right.
Or Calgary.
He didn't? Really?
No. Might have been signed by them.
Yeah, David saying the obvious is Tanget. Actually, Mark, check. That could be. Did Dan Highnote play for? Did he play for Calgary? Because that'd be a good one.
Dan Highnote is a good one, and no, he played for the Blues afterwards.
Oh, he didn't play for Calgary. I thought he did for a second. That's why I highlighted it. That would have been a good one. Chuck Kobasu.
Actually, you know what? You got Chuck Kobasu, but also I thought about Warren Reichel.
Kobasu played for both, right?
Kobasu played for both.
Warren Reichel?
Yeah. Warren Reichel. No, you know what? Nope, just Kobasu. My bad. So we're gonna go Chuck Kobasu because I guarantee
even that might be high, but just do it. I mean,
we could check where Steve Reinprecht landed. Nope. We got a 2 uniqueness, Anthony.
Not bad.
And that was all on Dean McCammon. So
Dean McCammon.
Yeah. Chuck Kobasu, 0.9. Let's just see where Steve Reinprecht would have landed. Steve Reinprecht would have been a 0.9. We would have been in the clear. Curtis Lazar is the one everybody thinks about with Ottawa. Obviously, geez, Scott Gomez. I forgot he even played there. Dean McCammon. Mike Peluso would have been a good one.
Yeah.
So then Turgeon.
Troy
Millette and Carl Rakunik. I should always remember Troy Millette because after all, he was a pretty good New York Ranger back in the day.
And I love Chuck Kobasu. All right, Mark, fire up the pyramid.
Okay, let's go with the pyramid. This will be our last one, and I gotta reset that timer, boys. So we can keep it quick. Quick Q&A. I got dinner we gotta do.
Looks back for the pyramid. All
cool.
right.
Phil,
hold on. Just looking at this, my first guess, because they always lead you somewhere. I think they're leading you to Scott Gomez as the last as the last answer.
I think you're
yeah,
right.
because he played in the I think for the Alaska
He
Aces
did.
ECHL.
Yeah. So I think that's the last answer they're leading you to there. Is
So
Scott Gomez.
Stanley Cup winner, guys. Any Stanley Cup winner.
I mean, pick you have a million of them.
Are you ready for this one?
Yeah. What?
Michael Del Zotto. So go ahead. 100 goals scored in the NHL in their career. And they have to have a
Stanley Cup winner. 100 goal Stanley Cup winner.
Man, I got plenty of them. I'm just trying to think of like a.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of the most obscure one I could think of.
Corey Millen win a Stanley Cup with the Devils?
Actually, that's not a bad. I mean, that's probably
Sergei
a low.
Nemchinov is a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go Sergei Nemchinov. I like that one.
He had to have scored 100 goals,
He
right?
definitely scored 100.
Yeah,
he
he
scored
did.
30 in his rookie year.
He did. Yeah.
Only guy to win a
Okay.
cup with the Rangers and the Devils, right?
All right, so
Yeah,
Stanley Cup winner, 100 goals, 750 games played.
750 games.
Sergei
played.
Nemchinov would have been a good one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what it's.
750 games. So, Benoit Hogue.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely scored.
Benoit Hogue, we're still at a zero uniqueness, guys.
All right, well
Now, somebody who won a Stanley Cup, 100 goals in his career, and
Devil.
and a Canadian. Oh, it's a Devil. Oh,
Not a Canadian is the next one.
Okay.
All right, I got the next guy after that.
Jay Pandolfo.
Jay Pandolfo. Yeah, I think he fits it.
I mean, if he scored well, check first. I mean, if he
I'll
did
check Jay
100,
Pandolfo really quick.
I know he definitely won a cup. He definitely played, I think, 750 games. Did he?
He's
score
got 100 on the nose. Is that going to?
100 on the nose?
Yeah, Jay Pandolfo fits it.
Yeah.
All right, so Pandolfo fits. The
Still
next
zero.
guy I got is Randy McKay.
Randy McKay was a Montreal Canadian.
His final season.
Oh, wow. That's a good call. All right, because I was about to say, because I know he went from Detroit to New Jersey. Okay.
And we're
It's
still
gotta
at
be
a zero,
Scott
guys.
Gomez.
It's got to be Gomez.
Question is there a second one?
I don't.
And
think-
by the way, we got that in with less than 3.5 minutes, 3 minutes, 20 seconds. So good job on that one,
Is
boys.
there any others aside
Michael
from Gomez?
Ryder is the
Michael
more popular
Ryder.
one.
Michael, what the oh my God.
When did he play in the ECHL?
Russ Courtnall never won a Stanley Cup. Someone State of Survival, but Russ Courtnall never won a Stanley Cup.
Randy McKay was a 0.5. Tom Chorsky would have been in there. Lucien Dubois. Jeez. Lucien Dubois won a Stanley Cup. All right.
Yeah, Michael Ryder played in the ECHL before his career started in the NHL. 20 games for the Mississippi Seawolves.
Wow, okay.
All right.
How'd you think of Randy McKay like that?
I just thought Randy McKay because he scored the OT winner against Boston. He was a guy. He had a lot of goals, so he was good, and he had the Devils. But then, as I was doing that, I'm like, wait, he played with Montreal at the very end.
I totally forgot that he played for Montreal. I would have never guessed that.
I think you're thinking of Bryce Salvador. I think he's still doing that. So, all right. Yeah, guys, I got a lot of things I have to do. I am in the process of moving.
When do you actually move?
It's going to be a process over the next week or so, but we can start going in now. So that's where the good part is, because
So you have
as I joked and I said, hey, it's the best thing for an Irish pub bartender is to move somewhere St. Patrick's Day weekend.
So you have the key. You have the keys to this place already. You can.
Oh yeah.
Oh, nice. Well,
Yeah.
Congratulations.
No, thank you. Looking forward to a lot more spacious area, and still like all the possibilities that come with a new place. So very much looking forward with that. So when you guys see this wall, it'll be completely different.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Mississippi Seagulls? Oh, no, still renting, Dave. Unfortunately, still renting. And Dave, thank you. There's actually a picture of Dave in his mask.
Well, guess we'll be back at it next week.
Hell yeah. Back at it next week, guys. And just you want to find something positive to say, because I know when people look at us, they go, why are they being so critical? Why do they hate this guy? It doesn't matter if we're being critical or not. It's just, we need to tell it like it is.
Yeah,
that's what you guys appreciate.
Yeah. I mean,
so,
the fact of the matter is both teams aren't really very good, and it looks like they both very well may miss the playoffs, and they both have big off seasons ahead of them where I think there's going to be significant change. So
yeah, I mean that's the one thing I'm looking forward to really at this point.
Yeah,
is just the off season. Listen, I'm a realist, and I get labeled as negative because of it, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this team is going to go 12-5, like Valaquette says, in order for them to make the playoffs. I don't see it. I just don't. I don't see a team that commits to playing defense. I don't see a team that wants it. I don't see the fire there. Like if this was last year and they were struggling and they were in a struggle for a while, but they'd shown flashes of being great at times, then I could sit there. Yeah, I know. I saw that signing, and Anthony is very happy about that.
I am.
Yeah, just like when Von Miller went there. Let's up on the brakes.
Von Miller. I mean, the Joey Bosa if he stays healthy, he's a much better option than Von Miller because he's younger. Von Miller came at the tail end of his career where he wasn't nearly as effective as he was with Denver. So Joey Bosa could have a real big impact.
And again, by the way, this is where Evan's right about this. What's the point of having a podcast if you're going to be sunshine and rainbows 24/7, providing no real insight at all? First off, call balls and strikes. I mean, look, I'm harsher on the Rangers than I am on the Islanders, and even going around looking, at least Igor's there forever. Yikes. I mean, there's a reason why you have to be critical, and there's also we're not paid by the teams. And look, we're not trying to go out and insult these guys unless they're Pierre-Luc Dubois. But it's just there's a lot that goes into this. And and I love that right now my wife is in the other room just saying I hate Pierre-Luc Dubois' name so much. I'm like, yeah, so do I.
Well, Mark, you gotta give it to him. He's actually having a good year for Washington.
I'm gonna give it to him, and so far he hasn't been demanded to get out of town yet. But yes, or Alexander Georgiev, there's another one. By the way, Anthony, oh my goodness, did you see some of those goals Saturday night he was letting in?
Yeah, he's not good. He's not good.
Yeah. But
by the way, speaking of off season, I did look up. That's June 1st. I was gonna say July 1st is on a Sunday. I am incorrect. I got ahead of myself. July 1st.
July 1st this year?
It's on a Tuesday.
Cool. So in other words, I'll have a night of work, but at least we're not gonna be stuck on a plane, Anthony.
Yeah, that was something last year. We were stuck on a plane. I thought you were going to literally hit the floor that night.
I was on suicide watch, so yeah. Thank goodness. Thank goodness I knew I was going to come home.
But honestly,
But Staters of Iowa saying this. Why is Dubois better as a capital? What do you think the reason why it didn't work out with the other two teams?
Leadership.
Yep.
Yeah.
Leadership and coach.
And it's not a knock at Andrzej Kopitar and Drew Doughty. I just think that Alex Ovechkin, I think, commands a little more respect than those guys do.
Yeah, and I also think Carberry found a way to get through to him. And he bought him in Carberry
as well.
But then again, we'll see about that next year. There's there's a reason why everybody hates this guy everywhere he goes. And maybe there's an outside chance this happened, Phil. He finally said, you know what, I'm the problem. And changed. And sports is littered with guys that have all the talent in the world, but never acknowledge that. They're always the best thing ever. Like one guy that I think about with this is one of Anthony's favorite guys from back in the day with the Islanders, Pierre-Luc Dubois, Josh Hosang, another 3-name guy. So,
Mark, I forget, we didn't have any sort of July 1st show, right? Because of all that?
Phil did it. He was able to go on and rescue us.
All right.
Yeah, we were but by the way, once again, thanks, Phil. But it was just I was not in good shape. I can't even describe it on air.
That's always my favorite stream of the year because with free agency, it's all day. You know, trade deadline's cool, but it's like once 3:00 hits, it's done, and then for a while there's like no action there. July 1st, it's really craziness the whole entire day, starting from noon.
And really quick, one more, guys. David's asking this one: who's your front runner for the Jack Adams as of right now?
I think
we're gonna have to go Scott Arniel.
He's one. I think the league's gonna give it to. I think the league's gonna give it to Spencer Carberry just because of the turnaround the Caps had.
Yeah. I'm leaning towards. If you said Arniel or Carberry, I wouldn't have a problem. We know midseason Philk said Jim Hiller. That's a good one too. I don't know. It's the Dean Evison's done a great job too. Josh, good one. Dean Evison's done a great job.
Speaking of Capitals, I think it was the poster Snark Messier. He posted a thing about Laviolette when he was in Washington about how he handled Protus McMichael so poorly.
Yeah, it was Snarky's account. I said that earlier.
Now look at two of them now. McMichael and Protus are absolutely integral pieces of that Capitals offense.
I'll say this. They are PDO kings, though. The Rangers in 2015-16 were PDO kings that year, and they had a massive falling off. And that's why I don't trust Washington in the playoffs. Usually when you're high in PDO, it doesn't end well for you because it's not
define PDO for people that don't know it.
So PDO is an advanced analytic, and basically, I can't really describe it in a way that would make sense for everybody, but just know that the teams that usually lead in it every year, their success isn't sustainable.
Yeah. Well, and that's one reason why I try to avoid it being that. All right, guys, we're going to cut it off right there. Thank you all very much for joining us this week. It's been a hell of a week of New York hockey and a lot that's going to I think we're in for a rough ride the next 2 weeks, New York Ranger fans, and that's where kind of wish you were the Islanders and maybe sold a little bit.
Logan Thompson's their goalie. This is incorrect. Logan Thompson's their guy, not Charlie Lindgren.
Yeah, Logan Thompson is their guy.
Sorry, it's
Charlie Lindgren's been good.
Thompson, if Hellebuck wasn't having the year that he's having,
Logan Thompson
would probably be the Vezina favorite right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking about which, Anthony, last word. Brock Nelson wearing a Avalanche jersey and having a media impact. I guess your thoughts.
I mean, I'm not surprised. He's a very good hockey player. He's just one of those guys that he's good offensively. He's good defensively. He's got a great shot. He's going to fit right in there with the Avalanche, and hopefully he wins a cup. Best to him. But yeah, that hurt to see him in that Avalanche jersey that first time. But you got to be positive, and you got to look at Callum Ritchie's on his way. He'll be there next year, so hopefully he'll have a big impact.
Made you laugh though when you saw him throw John Tavares basically into the bench.
Yeah, so, that was funny.
And also, I think the more awkward thing, guys, is Logan Thompson was traded when he was supposed to have a guest signing at the Sphere during the draft.
I was there.
Yeah.
You were there.
Yikes.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you very much, everybody. We will see you next Wednesday, and try to endure this week. And we're gonna be happy in a new location soon enough. Talk to you soon.
All else fails, just drink while watching Ranger games.